The New England Patriots, even though they stink, do they have a couple players that you may want on your fantasy roster? Man, it's week 7. And normally we don't have a ton of waiver wire pickups, but this week specifically, there's a ton of players you should be targeting for your team. Let's get right into it on this episode of Spiking the Pigskin. Welcome back to another episode of Spiking the Pigskin. I'm your host, Tony Jigsaw Cutillo, and apologize for the absence. Had some medical things to take care of. We are all good now, but we are back, and it's week 7. And not just because of injury, but there's a lot of names to talk about that are very viable fantasy options when it comes to fantasy football. And we always seem to be, and I'm not going to try to toot my own horn here, but we always seem to be ahead of the game a little bit on Spiking the Pigskin here at Win Daily Sports, because we've already talked about names that a lot of people are picking up this week. Ray Davis, we talked about. I drafted Ray Davis, right? Tyrone Tracy, we talked about weeks ago, okay? Bo Nix, we talked about weeks ago. Like, a lot of these guys we've talked about already, so in my opinion, they should already be on rosters, okay? But when we talk about Bo Nix, I didn't talk about Drake May. And I have to look at Drake May as a very considerable option on a very bad team that has absolutely nothing to lose. What I saw from him was a kid who's not afraid to sling it. His first few series, he started off really tight, really nervous, threw some really bad floating ducks out there, overthrew a couple of receivers. But the thing I like about Drake is he never let it get to him. He consistently kept working. And the rushing is a bonus. He did have almost 40 yards rushing on 5 attempts, so he's not afraid to use the legs. That's always a bonus. You know, look, that's almost a full 5 points in the rushing perspective. So 250 plus and 3 touchdowns. Yes, he threw the 2 picks, but they'll start to clean up, and you can live with them. It cancels out with the rushing. Okay, so that's the thing. His rushing will cancel out the bad plays. So I like Drake May going forward. I really do. I put him on a roster, and I may actually spot start him at times, especially when you consider some of the very lackluster play in the quarterback room. And listen, his partner in crime was Demario Douglas, who, again, I was all in on Jalen Polk, and I was wrong, okay? The opportunities went to Demario Douglas, simply, okay? He's had at least 9 targets in the past 3 games, and he's making a lot with those opportunities. And word is out of New England, Jalen Polk could be a little bit of a head case. And if that's the problem with him, then that means he's never going to be fully in. So you have Hunter Henry, and then you have Demario Douglas, who I think Demario Douglas, listen, he could get open in space. He's like a poor man's Khalil Shakir, a poor man's Tutu Atwell. He does a lot of good things, and especially for a young quarterback, they're going to utilize him a ton in several different formations. So I think he could absolutely be a steal. And I make these statements a lot, but he could be a guy, okay, honestly, that could be on your roster that could actually lead you to a fantasy football title. That's how good he could be. Now let's look at Minnesota, okay? Let's look at Ty Chandler. Aaron Jones dealing with a hip issue. Now normally I would just say, it's only a sore hip. This is chronic. It's a problem for me. It's a chronic hip injury. Am I saying he's going to miss multiple weeks? I don't know. But the thing is, you definitely need on a 5-0 team that really likes to run the ball and has a very successful running attack. This is a guy you need, because Aaron Jones, they may err with the side of caution. Okay, if you're 5-0, you got a bye coming up, you have a lot of things coming up. You say to yourself, look, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let's keep him healthy for a couple weeks. Let's take him off. Okay, so you have Ty Chandler for maybe 2 weeks as a starting option on a team that's 5-0 that can get the job done. So he's another guy that you want to look at. And then listen, Mr. Vidal, the rookie, Calamity Vidal from the Chargers. Listen, this kid, we talked about him in the preseason. You see what Jim Harbaugh likes to do. It's a run-heavy attack. And Gus Edwards already done, already banged up. He's done, right? You're like, we have nothing left for Gus Edwards. JK, unbelievable. J.K. Dobbins has been fantastic. But eventually, I'm always afraid that they may, listen, I'm not saying he's going to get hurt, but they may ease him back a little bit, okay? They may ease him back a little bit. And Vidal has shown the ability to catch and run. So he's a guy that you want to get in on as well. And then how about, I cannot believe, man, like honestly, I can't believe I'm going to mention this guy. But this could be another gem on the receiving market. Now, when Rashee Rice price went down, we all said, oh no, right? We all saw, oh no. And we talked about, could it be Davante Adams? Could it be Amari Cooper? Will somebody be traded to the Chiefs? Right? Will Travis Kelce step up? What's going to happen? Xavier Worthy, right? What's going to happen on his team? And lo and behold, it's old man Juju. Juju Smith-Schuster, who caught everything that Patrick Mahomes threw at him for 8 targets, 7 catches, 130 yards, and that's with Travis Kelce producing. Here's what I will say. The way I look at this situation is Patrick Mahomes needs that guy. Patrick Mahomes does not feel comfortable going deep down the field this year. For whatever case it may be, maybe he doesn't trust the rookie. Okay, Sky Moore's never developed into the guy that we thought he was going to be. So he's been very hesitant getting the ball deep down the field. The thing about that is when you're having a down year from Travis Kelce, you need another possession guy to trust, and nobody screams possession louder than Juju Smith-Schuster, okay? And Juju is a tall, physical receiver that's going to fight for the ball, okay, and it's going to be open in space and that Patrick Mahomes trusts. This dude, to me, if he gets less than 6 targets a game going forward, I'd be absolutely shocked, okay? Honestly, I think he's going to be the most heavily targeted receiver ahead of Travis Kelce in that entire passing attack. And we were talking about the Kansas City Chiefs, who are undefeated, who are going for another Super Bowl, okay, who are in an oriented offense by Andy Reid, who orchestrates one of the best West Coast schemes in the world. Juju is the prototypical wide receiver for that set. They always seem to bring somebody in, right? They always seem to bring somebody in. So I love Juju in this role. I think it's crazy that we're talking about it, but it's true. This is the guy you want to scoop up. This is the guy you want on your roster. And this is the guy not only do you want to stash, you want to start. You want to start Juju Smith-Schuster. Listen, I'm going to make this statement, and I'm not ashamed to say it, but I would feel more comfortable starting Juju Smith-Schuster than Travis Kelce himself. Yes, than Travis Kelce himself. So there are my waivers for the week, and let's get into the breaking news that happened with Davante Adams getting traded to the New York Jets to be back with his buddy, Mr. Aaron Rodgers. Everybody wants to know, what is this going to do from a fantasy perspective? How is it going to hurt the value of Garrett Wilson? I don't think it hurts the value of Garrett Wilson whatsoever. I think it only elevates the opportunity for Garrett Wilson. It only elevates the role of Garrett Wilson. Listen, we look at here in Philadelphia, you have 2 guys, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. They both get theirs, right? Davante Adams is not in the name right now of saying, I need to get 15 targets. Remember that. He's already gotten paid. He's already gotten a bag. He's there to be with his boy to try to win a ring. So he's going to do whatever he does. Does that mean he's not going to be number 1 wide receiver? No. But this isn't going to be wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. It's going to be 1A, 1B. I think the person that suffers more than anybody out of this is Breece Hall. Okay? I honestly think Breece Hall is the one guy who suffers because this is going to be less of a running attack style offense now and less passing opportunities that are going to go to Breece Hall. Listen, I think it was evident to them in that Monday night game that Mike Williams just is not there yet. I really do think that they felt a couple times, let's give Mike Williams another shot. We really thought that Mike Williams would be back from the ACL and he would be ready to really produce. And I think that they saw last night, that's not going to be evident this year. And they know they have an aging quarterback. And they say, you know what? We need to go out and we need to get somebody right now. And that's what they did. They went out and got the best guy on the market, Davante Adams. So he comes in, he steps in. Listen, he makes a very formidable 1-2 punch, possibly maybe the best in the National Football League, okay, with Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson. And now you go from Breece Hall getting 20 attempts to just rushing. Let's go 25 total touches a game to possibly down to like 15 to 18. That is a big, big landslide, okay, from a guy who was drafted in some drafts as number 1 overall. Just saying, I think, unfortunately, the Breece Hall owners, you take a big step back with this move with Davante Adams. And I think if you're a Davante Adams owner, man, you got to be happy as hell that he goes from that Drek out there from the Raiders and comes over, and now he becomes a week-to-week start, okay? Not week-to-week, a weekly start, I'm sorry. And a guy that is going to catch at least, listen, he's going to get 5 to 7 targets a game, okay? He's basically going to be A.J. Brown. And what I mean by that is AJ is always going to get those between 5 to 6 catches, 90 to 100 yards, and a touchdown opportunity, okay? And that's what Davante's going to get. So you essentially got a top 15 receiver right now on your squad. So shout out to you, whoever sat there and they dealt with all the nonsense with Davante Adams. People who said, I'm not going to listen to the noise, I'm drafting them anyway, no big deal. And listen, you got yourself a gem. You got yourself a gem, and you might got yourself a fantasy football championship. So that's how I feel. They're the waiver possibilities. That's my opinion on Davante Adams on a trade. Hopefully that helps everybody out a lot. As always, make sure you're liking and subscribing to the podcast. You're getting over to WinDailySports.com. You're using that code word HEAT, HEAT. Get that 50% off to get all your prop models, NBA start, NHL start. We got a ton of models in there, the cheapest price around. You can use that code word HEAT and get it as low as $25 a month. Get locked in today. So make sure you tune in on Thursday when we do the Thursday night Jigsaw pieces live on YouTube so you can see who's spiking the pigskin that night.